Hi, everyone, and welcome. I have such a special story for you today. It comes from a magical forest, and you know what? It feels just like listening to a beautiful song. It's a story all about a sad feeling, but it's also about how that sad feeling turned into something, well, something truly wonderful. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So our story starts with a group of friends, the Gopis, and they loved their friend Krishna so much. But every single morning, Krishna would take his cows and head off into the forest. And when he left, this deep sadness would just wash over the Gopis. The old stories have a word for this feeling. They call it dukkha. It means they were just unhappy. You know that feeling when someone you love is gone and your heart just feels a little empty? That's exactly how they felt. So every morning started out this way, kind of sad. But you know what? The Gopis were about to discover something amazing, a way to turn all that sadness into a song. And this is where it gets really interesting. They had a choice, right? They could just sit around feeling sad, or they could do something else. And they came up with the most beautiful idea. Instead of letting that sad feeling win, they decided to sing. Yep, they started singing about all of Krishna's amazing adventures, all the fun things he did. They literally filled their day with happy memories, and that song, it just pushed all the sadness away. So what were they singing about? Well, one of their absolute favorite things was the magic music that Krishna played on his flute, which is called a venu. They would just close their eyes and imagine him deep in the forest, playing this melody that was so enchanting. It could literally make the whole world stop and listen. And because their song was so full of love, they could see every single little detail in their minds. They sang about the way he'd press the flute to his lips and how his gentle fingers would just dance over the little holes. They even sang about the way his eyebrows would move up and down while he played, totally lost in the music. Isn't that amazing? It's like they were painting a picture for everyone, but with their words instead of paint. And can you even imagine how magical this music must have been? The Gopis sang that ladies flying way up in the sky, they'd just stop what they were doing to listen. They'd completely forget where they were going. And the wisest of the wise, the Siddhas, they were totally captivated. Even the greatest gods, like Brahma and Shiva, when they heard that music, they would just bow their heads in complete wonder. Wow. But you know, it wasn't just for the gods and wise people. Oh no. The Gopis sang about how all the animals in the forest would react. The cows, the deer, even the big, strong bulls. They'd stop right in the middle of chewing their grass. Can you picture that? They'd stand perfectly still, their ears perked up, just listening as hard as they could. It was like the whole forest became a beautiful painting, frozen in this one moment of pure wonder. Okay, so we have the gods listening, the animals listening, but it gets even more amazing. It wasn't just the animals. The Gopis sang that the whole forest came alive to show how much it loved Krishna. The rivers, the trees, you name it, even the birds, they all became part of this incredible story. You have to hear this. First, the rivers. The Gopis sang that the rivers would actually stop flowing just so they could hear the music better. Then, the trees. They would bow their branches down really low like they were offering up their sweetest fruits and flowers as little gifts for him. And finally, the birds. All the birds sitting by the lakes would just fall silent. They'd close their little eyes and listen, not with their ears, but with their hearts. It really seemed like the entire world was completely in love. All right, so after a whole day of singing these beautiful songs about Krishna, you'd think that's the best part, right? But nope, the absolute best part was still to come. The Gopi song would change, and it would turn to the happiest moment of the entire day. The evening. That's when Krishna would finally come back from the forest with all his friends and his cows, bringing all that happiness right back home. And the details in their song were just so sweet. They sang about how when Krishna was walking home, even the clouds in the sky wanted to be his friend. A little cloud would just float right over his head, it would make a little gentle thunder sound and give him shade, just like a perfect umbrella. How kind is that? And oh, they sang about how beautiful he looked coming home. His face might have been a little dusty from the cow's hooves, but it was just shining with joy, kind of like the moon at night. He'd be wearing a garland of these sweet-smelling jasmine flowers, and his shiny gold earrings would sparkle on his cheeks.
Just seeing him looking so happy and so beautiful, it just washed away all the tiredness of the day in a second.
So, here we are getting to the end of the story. And this is where we find the real secret, the real magic. It wasn't just about Krishna's amazing flute or even about him coming home. The real magic was what the gopis decided to do. That's it, right there, their song. It changed everything. See, by choosing to sing about all the things they loved, they didn't just make their day better. No, they did something even more incredible. They transformed their own hearts. Remember how our story started with that word dukkana? That feeling of being unhappy because someone you love isn't there? But by filling their whole day with this song of love, they changed that feeling completely. They turned it into something called Maha Udayaha, and that means a huge, joyful festival right inside their own hearts. It's like they realized they weren't separated from Krishna at all, because he was right there with them, living inside their loving thoughts and their beautiful songs. And that kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it? The gopis turned their sad feelings into happy ones, just by remembering all the things they loved. So maybe you can try it too. Think about someone you love very, very much. What beautiful things, what happy memories can you sing about them in your own heart? That's a kind of magic that every single one of us can share. Thanks so much for listening to our story today.